Welcome to Old Iron Machine Works. This video is kind of a little mixed bag, kind of a follow-up on this Waukesha 3521 engine right here. A couple videos back, I kind of left it with that little clip, and I just thought I'd give it a little update on the engine being loaded up, put back on the unit, and up and running. This engine did get a complete overhaul. Tore all the way down the bare block, and everything's sent out for machining. Here I'm just outside of Rio Vista, probably maybe, I don't know, 3 miles. And Rio Vista, California is known for the gas patch, the natural gas industry. And if you ever drive anywhere out around Rio Vista, all you gotta do is just look out and about, and you'll see units like this kind of all over the place, every shape and size. This is the customer's old Superior engine that runs a joy compressor, and about the only time it ever runs anymore is when the Waukesha is down for any kind of servicing or maintenance. This footage was taken Mother's Day weekend. I think the unit probably ran about 3 weeks at this point. This is footage when we had the compressor apart and just had to polish all the shafts and clean up the pistons. The roof got removed in order for the crane to lift the engine out and back in, so they got to reschedule the crane to put the roof back together. On this particular lease, they run a lot of cattle, so that's why they got the fences and the gates, just to keep the cattle away from rubbing against everything. This is one of our portable units, and it's actually used as the third stage behind the Superior while the Waukesha was being rebuilt. Here we have a Waukesha VHP water pump that I tend to rebuild a lot of them. And years ago I started making them greasable, which means I got to do some drillings in the housings where I put the grease fitting. Here I'm drilling out the shaft for the grease fitting, and it pumps grease between the bearings, pumps it into the bearings. But since they have a rubber lip seal on both sides of the bearings to prevent from pushing the seals out or messing them up, I need to put a little relief valve in it so the grease can pump out before it does any damage. Here you can see the rod that connects the tailstock to the carriage. And the reason I do that is anytime you're drilling, deep hole drilling, you got to be really careful that it doesn't eventually snag up inside, break the drill bit off. I have an early video I did quite some time back that showed this, but basically once you're drilling, you're always feeding in with the tailstock, and then when you want to back it up, here I'm just showing, feed it in. And then at that point, you just kind of crank the carriage away to pull the bit out, clean it out, put some more lube on it, bring it back up against the stop, and then you're ready to continue on screwing the bit in. And that way you don't have to worry about when you're cranking it in, jamming the bit and catching it and twisting it off. As I said earlier, the grease will come from the shaft and come in between both bearings. The drilling I'm doing right now will let the grease escape out. This hole right here will eventually have a little relief valve, and that'll just prevent from over pressuring with grease on the inside. Nothing fancy, it's just got a little spring in it, and if it pressures up, it lets the grease out. Otherwise the spring pulls it closed and keeps the dust and dirt out of it. Here I already got the end of the shaft tapped, 1/8" pipe. All I do is put the tap in the chuck, turn it on, just kind of run it in to get it started, and then finish it off with the tap handle. Here I'm doing my cross drilling. That hole will be the hole that the grease pumps out into to supply grease to the bearings. I leave my super spacer on one of the mills, and I pretty much just clamp whatever in it, however it'll clamp up. Here it's pretty much done, just ready for some paint and pump some grease in it. I'm sorry that there's parts that I kind of skip over, but they are paying me to rebuild stuff and not necessarily to make videos. This is a project I had to bring home and do it on my large lathe at home. The one at work just isn't big enough. What I needed to do is machine the cylinder head. Now this is an Ajax 30. which is quite a bit smaller than the head that's in the lathe, but that's the cylinder head right there. And on the old Ajaxes, if you're not familiar with them, you know, they run and pump off of natural gas, and they kind of share the same crankshaft. This is what they call the power end that does the running. Here you got the crankcase, and then you got the big bowl gear. They're kind of known for their big bowl gears. And then you got the compressor end down there that does the pumping of the natural gas. And we've actually I think we've parted out or scrapped out about 10 of these in the last couple months. I really don't like machining cast on my lathe, so when I do, I try to protect it the best I can. Now here, I didn't get a good shot before I started machining, but basically it just had enough corrosion where it wasn't making a good seal in the head gasket. So it's just a matter of machining it down. The head gasket kind of fits all those ports. So just kind of machining it down, getting rid of all those bad spots. I probably need to point out on a Ajax, the cylinder is reciprocating a rod that goes through packing, threaded on the end. So whatever material I take off there, the piston just gets screwed in a little bit farther, you know, for your clearances. Sometimes it's kind of hard to predict exactly how good of a finish you'll get, just depending on the cast material when they made them. But that one actually came out pretty good. The paperwork pretty decent for keeping most of all the fines off the lathe itself. And I posted something a while back on Instagram, and a guy was mentioning tinfoil, and I thought that was actually a pretty good idea. Well, I got the cylinder head all machined. Came out pretty good. This is the track that I made I got a video on it, how I get my big chuck on, I think it is. But anyway, it works great for this kind of stuff. You know, I can move it out and then go ahead and pull the card in. But what I think I plan on doing is up here, I think I want to put a little track. And the track will run from that light over to that light, right over the lathe. And when I got heavy stuff, you know, it'll make it definitely easier for setting stuff in the chuck. Well, I had a little change in my plans as far as that overhead hoist deal. I've been rebuilding a few of these large gearboxes, and the customer asked if I would be willing to make some of these hubs at home. And as you can see, it's they're about 16.5-inch diameter, roughly 6 1/4 hole in the center, and about 8 inches thick, which means that the bare chunk of steel would be about 450 pounds. Which brings me to this. I spotted this on Craigslist. It was actually on Craigslist for a while, but the price is kind of high, and I really didn't know a whole lot about them. And then Aaron over there at Always Sunny in the Shop bought one and posted a YouTube video of it. And at that point, I knew I needed one. The seller still had it, and he actually even dropped the price down on it a bit. So we made a deal, and I got it. And of course, while I was there, I got another big life center. It's a number 5 Morse taper, and the cone's about 6-inch diameter. Normally when you're shopping Craigslist, the super really good deals you got to be pretty quick on. But every once in a while, one's coming along like this. This mic was actually posted for almost a month on Craigslist, and it was posted for $80. If you look them up, I believe the same mic brand new is, over $1,000. And it doesn't even look like it's been used. When I went to pick it up, it wasn't too far from my son's, and I was going over to visit, and it was just immaculate condition. This was another Craigslist find. Person advertised it as some kind of toolbox with tools. He did not list it as a Vidmar or list or anything, and it ended up being a Lista cabinet. Other than the stickers, came with all the tools in it for kind of a ridiculous price. So of course it was about 20 minutes away. I'm a sucker for a good Vidmar or Lista cabinet. I graduated in '79, and by 1981 I was working as a field service mechanic for a local tractor dealership, which just so happened to be an Oliver dealer. Here we have an Oliver 550 power steering shaft, and the shafts are pretty much heat treated, the entire length of the shaft. You can see right there is where a seal rides, was totally eaten out, and I don't ever recommend welding or metal spray or anything. Just the fact that when you start putting that kind of heat on the shaft, you're changing the tempers, and I don't like to do that. I was able to machine it. I had to grind a carbide where it would finally, and just a few thousandths at a time, but I was able to machine it down good enough for a sleeve. I want to clarify when I say I don't like to heat up, metal spray, or weld up. I'm talking a really hard tempered shaft. A shaft that's not that hard and soft, no big deal. Here I'm barely putting a little pressure on the boring bar to keep it from singing. It would just want to start, singing to me, and barely putting a little resistance on it would quiet it down. I smacked my thumb a while back, and that's the results of it. When I was using this insert, the shaft, it kind of boogered a little area up at the end. So when I was machining the bushing, it was doing a little tear, and so I had to flip the insert around. You can see the areas on the shaft where that little bad spot in the insert was doing a little tearing. Flipped it around and doing a great job. Most of this footage has been handheld. I did not have my iPhone stand to hold the phone, so I didn't get any footage of sanding the bushing. Here everything's ready to be reassembled. That's where the seal will drive in. And the shaft, the corroded part of the shaft really doesn't mean anything. Right there you have a bushing all the way up in front on the tube. And then the seal is the area that was repaired. Seal right there. And that's pretty much it. Mother's Day weekend, I was headed over to my boys about 30 minutes away, and I thought I would blow the dust off my bike and take it for a ride. I really appreciate all my new subscribers and my existing subscribers. The way I'm going, it looks like I'll probably be having some kind of a giveaway or something pretty soon. But anyway, if you like this kind of content, please give it a thumbs up. And if you're not already a subscriber, be great to have you subscribe. And comments are always nice. Thanks for watching.